Welcome to Lexivia English. Ready to take your English to the next level? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy the journey.
The night the sky went dark. One clear evening in October, astronomers around the world noticed something impossible. The stars were disappearing, not slowly, not one by one, but all at once. Within hours, the night sky that had guided humanity for thousands of years became completely black. Only the moon remained, floating alone in the darkness like a single lamp in an endless room. At first, people thought it was a mistake. Weather stations checked for unusual clouds. Observatories examined their equipment, but the instruments were working perfectly. The stars were simply gone. Social media filled with confused messages and blurry photographs of the empty sky. Scientists had no explanation. The light from distant suns, which had travelled billions of years to reach Earth, had vanished without warning. In cities around the world, people came outside to look up. They stood in parks, on rooftops, and in their gardens, staring at the black ceiling above them. Children asked their parents where the stars had gone. Adults had no answers. The sky that had always been there, constant and reliable, was now as empty as a blank page. A world without navigation. The first serious problems appeared quickly. Ships in the middle of the ocean, which had used stars for navigation for centuries, suddenly lost their way. GPS systems, which depended on satellites that used star positions for precise calculations, began to give incorrect directions. Planes flying long distances had to make emergency landings at the nearest airports. Farmers who had planted crops according to star patterns found themselves confused about seasons and timing. In some cultures, important ceremonies and festivals were planned according to the position of certain stars. Without these celestial guides, communities felt lost and disconnected from their ancient traditions. The most affected were the people who worked at night. Sailors, pilots, and astronomers felt like they had lost their most important tools. Even simple activities like camping became different. People realized how much they had depended on the gentle light of stars to see in the darkness. Chapter 3: The Science of Darkness. Scientists around the world worked day and night to understand what had happened. They discovered that the sun was still there, still providing light and warmth during the day. The planets in the solar system were also still in their places. Only the distant stars had vanished. The theories were wild and frightening. Some scientists suggested that the universe was shrinking and the stars were moving too far away to see. Others wondered if something was blocking the light, like a giant cloud of cosmic dust. A few even proposed that the stars hadn't disappeared at all, but that Earth had somehow moved to a different part of space. Research teams shared their findings across the globe. Telescopes that could see invisible light, like radio waves and X-rays, were pointed at the dark sky. But they found nothing. The space where billions of stars used to shine was completely empty. It was as if the universe had become a much smaller and lonelier place. Life in the new darkness. As weeks passed, people began to adapt to their starless world. Cities became brighter at night as street lights were increased to help people feel safer in the deeper darkness. The sale of flashlights and lanterns increased dramatically. People started going to bed earlier and waking up later, following the rhythm of the sun more closely. But the psychological effects were stronger than anyone expected. Many people reported feeling sad and anxious. The night sky had always been a source of wonder and comfort. Looking up at stars had helped people feel connected to something bigger than themselves. Now, the darkness felt empty and scary. Children who had learned to count by pointing at stars had to find new ways to practice. Numbers. Lovers who had made wishes on shooting stars felt like they had lost a special magic. The night sky, which had inspired poets, artists, and dreamers for thousands of years, was now just a black void. Chapter 5: Finding New Light. Despite the challenges, humanity began to discover unexpected positive changes. Without the distraction of stars, people started paying more attention to the moon. they noticed its phases more carefully and learned to appreciate its gentle light. The moon became the new star of the night sky. Artists and musicians found inspiration in the darkness. New forms of art were created that celebrated the beauty of empty space. Music that expressed the feeling of cosmic loneliness became popular. People learned to find beauty in simplicity and emptiness. Communities came together in new ways. Without stars to look at, people spent more time talking to each other during evening gatherings. Storytelling became more popular as people shared tales to fill the dark hours. The absence of celestial entertainment made human connection more important. The return. After 6 months of starless nights, something miraculous happened. On a cold morning in April, a child in Australia pointed to the sky and shouted, "Look, a star." At first, it was just one tiny point of light. Then another appeared, and another. Within hours, stars began returning to the night sky around the world. They appeared slowly at first, then faster, like lights being turned on in a huge dark building. By evening, the familiar patterns were back. The Big Dipper, the Southern Cross, and all the other constellations that had guided and inspired humanity for millennia were shining again. Scientists never discovered why the stars had disappeared or why they returned. Some suggested it had been a test of humanity's ability to adapt. Others believed it was a natural phenomenon that might happen again. But most people didn't care about the explanation. They were simply grateful to have their night sky back. A new appreciation. The experience of losing the stars changed humanity forever. People no longer took the night sky for granted. Stargazing became a popular activity as families and friends gathered to appreciate the celestial display. Children learned the names of constellations with new enthusiasm. Astronomy classes filled with students who wanted to understand their cosmic neighbours. The months of darkness had taught an important lesson. The universe was both fragile and precious. The stars that had always seemed permanent and unchanging were actually something special that could be lost. This realization made people more aware of other things they might be taking for granted. Their planet, their communities, and each other. Night after night, people continued to look up at the restored sky with wonder and gratitude. The stars had returned, but humanity had been changed by their absence. In the darkness, people had learned to appreciate the light. In the silence of space, they had discovered the importance of connection. The empty sky had taught them that even in the darkest moments, hope and beauty could return. The story of the disappearing stars became a reminder that nothing lasts forever, but that makes everything more precious. And every night, as people looked up at the twinkling lights above, they remembered the time when the sky was empty and felt grateful for the cosmic show that painted the darkness with points of brilliant light.